Hello, welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Age of Awæcnian Soulful Stories Unveiled. I am your host, Marie Ferguson, and this is the beautiful Felicia Lee. How are you feeling today, Flea?
I'm excited, and we have a beautiful guest that is coming on with us. But right before we started, I pulled some beautiful cards, and this has been the third time today where these lovely cards have come out. So, once again, we have that beautiful universe card just showing us that, this is divinely guided, and with this divine guidance, we get to celebrate in this success of partnerships and alliances. So I love that this keeps coming up and that we get to meet all of these really beautiful people that just have so much wisdom and knowledge to share with the world. And that celebration is how we come into this material harvest, how we actually get to complete these unions of our soul and really just enjoy our success. So I'm just loving that this is where we get to lead with this today.
Oh, I love that. And it feels really good. I know in the energetics of life, we've gone through a lot of heaviness and a lot of shedding. And look, there are still moments of that we feel into, and it's part of that expansion and contraction of noticing those moments in our daily lives and what's happening in the world as well. And so we're so excited to have our next beautiful guest on, Carol, who we've met through some mutual friends of ours online. And Carol is a beautiful Reiki teacher. She also works with crystal. She taps into the Akashic records and is a healer practitioner and has such a beautiful energy. And she's also one of our summit speakers for Seeking Sovereign Souls. That's happening in April. So we're so excited to have you on board. And Carol, would love for you to just share a little bit about you and what led you down this path of, tapping into this energy work.
Beautiful. It's an honor to be here. So, yes, Carol Soto, and I'm the co owner of Love, Healing, and More. If you ask me, I am a healer. Independent who asks me, I will share more information. But how I got to this path, the first thing that I learned is that I was an empath. And I got curious and I was like, what does that mean? And what it means is a stranger coming to you and sharing their life, and you're like, who are you and why are you telling me this, right? Yes, it happens. But it led me to be an empowered empath, learning about energy, learning about what was mine, what was not mine, learning about tools and technique that makes me a happier person because I'm not taking in other people's energy. So that's how it started. But it was really infused in curiosity. So I was one day in Facebook and I saw this post that it was a hand, and if you have lines under your pinky, that means that you are a healer. And I was like, a healer? What does that mean? Yes. So you can look in your right hand under your pinky. If there is lines in there, you're a healer. So if you didn't know, go check that out. So out of curiosity, it says that typically you will be a doctor or you will be inclined to be a doctor. My mom is a doctor. So I automatic went and ran to her hand and I was like, show me your hand. So yes, her hands full of lines. So she was a healer too. So that led me to Reiki, and I fall in love, but I didn't know that Reiki was just going to be the beginning of who I am truly as a healer. And then one thing led to the next thing, to the next thing. I learned how to read the aura. I learned that it was a medical intuitive. And then I came across the Akashic records and I fall in love with the Akashic records.
Mhm.
I learned level 1, which it helps me read the records for myself, for others. Then I did level 2, where you can do healing in the records. So you can do
Mm.
past life regressions, you can explore contracts, you can explore patterns, habits, everything that does not longer serve yourself. You can figure it out in the records, and then you can hold space and let it go and heal. And then but that's just all my spiritual kind of journey. Before that, I am an engineer and I also have an MBA in global leadership. I was in corporate America for 18 years, which I am blessed that all the business skills and all the marketing skills is helping my business. So I'm super grateful. Um, but that Carol came into an end last September when I took a leap of faith and I said, I'm going to fully embody Carol the healer, Carol the
Mm.
here coming and bringing healing to humanity. And those, they are called for me to help with.
Oh, powerful. I've just got goosebumps, Carol. And knowing that you've been in the corporate world, you have a degree in engineering and have this beautiful logic foundation and understanding of this 3D world, and then this
Mm.
awakening and curiosity. I know Flea and I talk about curiosity a lot, and when you hear those calls, when you become noticing the little synchronicities or the symbols that pop up that get you curious, it's amazing to see what unfolds. And I know, Flea, you love tapping
Mm.
into this curiosity.
I,
It's funny that you actually mentioned the little synchronicities, because this is something that I tell my partner quite frequently. It's like, oh yeah, I'll point out a number or something and then work out the little message. Yep, that makes sense. That's okay. And I go on my way. Very rarely do I explain it to him, because it's like, okay, yeah, that's the woo woo part of you. But like, he asked one day and I turned around and I just said, well, once you start seeing it, it will start as a coincidence and you'll go like, oh yeah, that's unusual. And then it'll happen again. And then you'll be like, oh, now I'm looking for it. And you'll try to avoid it and you'll start to see it popping up in different places. And I said, this happened quite regularly. I'd walk out in the morning and it would be, um, what was it? 354 or something like that. It was always a combination of the 3, 5, and the 4. And I was like, this is so unusual. Like, every time I walk out, and it just so happened that we'd had a power outage and the clocks had ended up on all different schedules. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not going to happen anymore. And then I happened to notice one of the other clocks and I was like, oh, there it is. And it was in these moments that I said, now it's synchronous. I can't avoid it because it's popping up in other places. It's on license plates. It's on receipts. It's, when we pause a movie, it's like right there. It's like, okay, I'm seeing it. And I had to laugh at and say, once you start noticing it, you won't be able to unsee it. And, you'll try your hardest and you will avoid it, but it'll be pushed in your face. And he just happened to turn around and go, oh, look, 1717. I was like, yep. Do you want to know what it means? And it's like, no, 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 no. That's fine. But that curiosity was what drove me. And I was like, I wanted to know. It's like, why does this number keep popping up? It's a sequence, but it's not a sequence. And that led me down the path of, well, what does it mean for me? And tapping into my own Akashic records and what it means for me to create meaning from those numbers. And I struggled with this because you read a book and you go, oh, it means this in that book, or you Google it and it might mean something else. And it's like, what I'm being shown is all of these interpretations. And those interpretations, and that's why I love the tarot cards and the oracle cards, it's the meaning it pulls out of your inner knowing in the moment. And it's just, yeah, perfect. And the synchronicities, you can't avoid them. Once they're there for life.
That's it. So, ladies, we're talking about Akashic records. If there's anyone that's listening and that's been curious to listen in, they're like, "What is that?" Carol, can you dive deeper into, well, what are these records people are talking about? How do you access them? What does it tell you? I'd love for you to just, share a little bit more insight for anyone that's listening in that's like, I'm curious. I don't know what that means.
Yes, of course. So the Akash is in the fifth dimension, and it's where the Akashic records are located. The Akashic records are the book of life. So when you hear about the book of life, or you book where a place where everything, all your thoughts, all your deeds, all your action, everything is recorded in there, not only for this lifetime, all your life. Because if you didn't know, you're a multidimensional being, and probably this was not your first rodeo here on Earth. And probably you have been in other planets and other locations and other dimensions. So in the Akashic records, you can find everything about you. And then a question that always people ask is about their future. You can find your future, but it's going to be future possibilities because your future is built right here, right now, depending on your choices, depending on what actions, what path you take, right? We have free will and it can be changed and it can be made right here, right now. So you can use the records to learn a little bit about your future, but it will be in your here right now. If anything change, how that looks like. Or in a here right now, if I make this decision, if I take this path, how do my future looks like? So it's going to be more future possibilities. But you also ask, how can you get access to the records? So as right now, because we are moving from a 3D dimension to a fifth dimension, everybody has access to the Akashic records. You can access by intention, right? Do you get or access to the Akasha records? You can do it with guided meditation. There is a lot of guided meditation that it can guide you to open your records, or you can use a practitioner that it can help you and guide you to go and get the information like I am.
Yeah, beautiful. So beautifully encapsulated there. And I love that piece about free will and this eternal now that we still, even though destiny a few weeks back, that, things, there is still like this highest timeline and this destiny and these paths, but there are still the choices that we can make to lead us to there. And so it's really an interesting, I suppose, conversation of like free will and destiny and whatnot as well. But I'm so with you there that you can tap into it. And I know when you start questioning, when you start going within through meditation or breath work, or even just sitting with nature, noticing those thoughts and those feelings that come through, allowing yourself this is safety and spaciousness to go within. And I found even on my own journeys, a lot of it's been through the breath and through the body to then allow my mind to just open and just to notice. And sometimes these things, we talk about imagination, and people who are very scientific based are like, well, if it's not here and solid right now, how can it be possible? But Albert Einstein has clearly said in one of his famous quotes that imagination is more important than knowledge, because we can create and co-create. And if the universal mind is a construct of that thought pattern and imagination, like Flea and I talk about, that anything is possible. And let's play with the magical realms. Let's still be grounded in the physical, but let's play and see what else can happen. And so I feel like, with that inner child work, when we are so open to imagining and thinking about fairies and dragons and, the things that we see in mythology, it's like something within your heart, when you're a little kid, that belief and that faith, there's something in that there's a truth and a wisdom. And I've kind of come back to this, as an adult now, where it's like, actually, those feelings and those felt experiences have come from other lifetimes, from other places that have now sat in this deep remembrance. So as a kid, did you ever have like growing up as a child those moments for you where you're like, this is real, like I believe in this, and like I'd love to know like what little Carol was like.
Oh my
Mm,
goodness. So Little Carol was in Dominican Republic, and I remember being so fascinated by the stars. And I can like lay down and just look at the sky and spend hours and hours just looking at the stars.
mm,
To then learn later on that that's home because I'm a star child, right? I'm a star seed. So that felt home always. But
mm,
back then, little Kira didn't know that was home, right? She was in the Dominican Republic. But that for me was kind of my happy time, my happy moment, just looking at the stars and spending hours and hours. But I also grew up as a medium, so I was always be able to see and sense spirits. I remember 6 years old seeing my grandfather, and I didn't met him because
mm,
he left earlier, but the sense of peace that he brought with being there. And I just knew with 6 years old that he's telling me, I'm protecting you, I'm seeing you, right?
mm,
So that I grew up with that. Then having another time, having another spirit family coming in and just letting me know I'm here, I'm supporting you. But then at age 10, something scary happened. And age 10, we're not supposed to see spirit. Girl, what? No, I don't want to see that anymore. So I stopped seeing spirits.
mm,
And then I continue sensing them. I continue sensing spirits. I was fascinated in growing up by looking at series about mediumship,
mm,
and my I want to be that medium that helps solve those problems, right? But then the adulting happening and coming into being an engineer and care on logical, that does not make sense at all. Let's be rational, right?
mhm,
But it is funny and curious that my sister also has the same gift of being a medium and being an empath.
mm,
And now she's getting curious and asking questions. It's like, oh, I'm watching the series and they talk about transitioning and not transitioning and earthbound. Can you talk to them? Can you sense them? Can you have, and it's like, girl, I have staff meeting every day. I talk to spirit every single day. um, but yeah, that was Little Carol. Fascinated by the stars, spirits,
mm,
mediumship. But I'm more fascinated now as an adult in allowing my inner child and my imagination to flow more, that I
mm,
strongly believe in dragons. And I know for a fact that I was a dragon before, and I know for a fact that I ride dragons. And then maybe this can be a little bit woo woo for some of the listeners, but the I know for sure I go in the astro and I go in
mm,
dragons.
Yeah.
And they're so kind and lovely, and they bring a lot of healings. And I think the
mm,
most profound experience that I have with a dragon is that I'm connecting to, okay, how many dragons that I have as guide, like right here, right now? And the number three
mm,
came up. And I said, okay, I would like one to come forward and I would like to sense you, like understand and learn more for you and build the connection with you. And I felt a whole body coming next to me and
mm,
just like laying in
Mm,
there. I
mm,
know, like, and what is coming to my mind is this journey is amazing and embarking. And sometimes you may think you're going
mm,
crazy. And guess what? No, you're not
mhm,
going crazy. It's all part of the journey. It's part of the veil gaining thinner for you and just get curious and allow it to
Mm,
unfold as it should be.
absolute.
Wow.
I love that. I had a series of pains in my right shoulder that I couldn't work out where they were coming from, and it was actually Marie that said, "Oh, you should do a meditation." And it was actually through a water meditation that I'd never done before, and it was like fully emerged my head so that the vibrations of the music I was playing went through the water and everything. And it was in that meditation that I was shown that I was a dragon that had had my wing cut off, and it was in that separation, and it was like, ah, that's that pain. And it's like it's just hanging there, it's just, it needs to be mended.
Mm,
And it was through this visualization and imagination that I was able to then, like, nurture myself, and that healing and that pain went away. And people could
mm,
go, there's a whole different theories on what that pain was, where it came from. But for me, it was that awareness of these things are real, and they do present themselves as ailments in our bodies now. And a lot of people that aren't aware of this, your karma, especially if you're born with some type of deformity or disease or something like that, that's brought, that's selected by you to come into this world with that karma. And that is some of those pains from these past lives. So this constant reoccurring pain in my shoulder that doesn't feel like, it doesn't even feel like my arm because it's not attached to where I move. I'm like, what is this? It's like it wants to move, but it's not me. And it was only through these processes that it was like, okay, now I understand that, and what it is to be mistreated, and how to heal yourself and come back into fullness. And like the story of the dragon, or the vision of the dragon, really, could hold no meaning other than it was a story. But it was the connection to myself, and that understanding of being able to tap into that energy and go, okay, well, I actually have this ability within me to go in and to heal these things that are hurting. And it's that stagnancy of these wounds and of this past knowledge that has been repressed, that we don't get to talk about, that we don't get to share. And it's so beautiful to meet people that can speak with clarity and with training behind it, so that we
mm,
can, use the correct language and not be called woo woo, because these ancient traditions, they're not woo woo. They've been passed down for many generations. Like when we talk of wives' tales, and I've lived with lots of elderly women that always had their little stories, put the onion on your feet and the Vicks on your chest, and all of these little things that we sit there and go, oh, yeah, it's just a grandma story. But those grandma stories were actually passed down in tribes, like for many, many generations, and they're always coming back to the earth and to the natural state of things, and our existence as it is in the spiritual sense. So,
mm.
this expansion of knowledge may sound woo woo because we haven't used it for such a long time, but it's not. It's fact. And the more that we go within, the more we actually can see and connect to that. And the power is phenomenal to be able to go, okay, I know this pain, I know what I'm thinking and feeling. Yes, now I can fix it.
Love that.
For
And it's these
me,
truths. Oh, sorry, Carol. I was gonna say it's these truths that really it's felt in the body. And
Mm,
so your experience is your
mm,
experience. That's Lee's. I've got my own as well. But it's that felt experience. Please continue, Carol.
For me, pain are messengers. I see pain
mm,
as a messenger. And it's a time for you to sit down and have a conversation with pain. And it is
mm,
not going to pharmaceutical and having an Advil or having a painkiller. It's more about you sitting and having a conversation with your pain. And you will be
Mm,
surprised what's the
mm,
root cause of your pain. And I can give you an example. I was perfectly healthy when I went to bed. When I wake up, my hips was hurting. And I'm like, what is this? Why are my
mm,
hips are hurting? So because I walk my talk, I sit down and I had a conversation with my pain. And I was like, okay, hips,
mm,
you're hurting. What's going on? Tell me what is
mm,
creating this pain. Well, I went within and I saw myself being an Indian and I got shot with an arrow, I got paralyzed,
Mm,
and that was the pain that was coming in, right? It was a past life that it was ready to be healed, that it was ready to be honored and let
mm,
go. So for me, pain is just a messenger, and it
mm,
is you taking a
mhm,
moment to sit down, rest, and ask, where's this coming from? And
Mm,
the majority of the time, the question that you start asking is it mine? As an empath, we take pain, we
mm,
take emotions, and we take energy that is not ours. So the first question you need to ask is it mine? If it's not yours, please ask God, Source, Universe, Gaia, whoever you believe in, to transmute it. And if
yeah.
it's not
mhm,
possible because the other person has to learn from it and grow from it, then you said, I send to sender with love.
Mm,
But it's foreign to you. So it
mm,
needs to be out of your system. It needs to be out. You're not supposed to be carrying other people's pain,
mm.
other people's emotions, other people's
mhm,
energy. So that's how I see pain.
Yeah, that's a really
yeah,
beautiful way to look at it. I talk about, having conversations with your womb space and your body,
mm,
but this other lens of like having conversation with your pain, I think is really powerful. It took me back as you were sharing that to a moment that I had with Flea and another beautiful friend of ours. And it was like something I had locked away for like, it felt like centuries, and it wasn't mine. And I'd like kept it like to protect the people or whatever. And then I had to release it. And it came out in grief and anger. And it was painful, but it was like this
mm,
felt experience that had to be released. And I found being with women that I feel safe with, that can hold space for that bigness to be felt. You know, I know I can alchemize it and transmute it through my voice, through my emotions, through my body, but that has obviously taken time to develop and to discern.
mm,
And even like, I openly share this catalyst that shifted my bodily and emotional state, experiencing miscarriage and coming back to the womb and its power in order to release that pain and
mm,
suffering, not only for myself, but it felt like for my lineage, it felt like for all women. And this energy of like deep rage was still, there were still layers within me that I thought I'd released, and I'm like, oh, there's more in there, there's
mm,
more. But it was like, I don't need to hold on to that anymore. And a lot of that dragon medicine that you guys were about, I think having the courage within my own dragon who I met last year through, again, meditation, through synchronicities, through doing a lot of shamanic work, and being open to the animal wisdom and the mythical animals that come through, and that curiosity again. I met my dragon and he's been with me for eons. And we've had moments in different lifetimes where we forgot each other and then we remembered, and there was like healing, and there was also like this deep, like their hearts needed healing too, because we see in mythology
mm,
the negativity, we see like this demonizing of the dragon being the bad, the
mm,
evil. And it was like this lifetime I remembered. And people, look, if you're listening in, you're like, oh, that's just your imagination. Sure. But it was felt for me. And it was like when I touched this dragon's heart, and it felt like in the elven realm, it was like this deep remembrance and this deep healing and this deep honor. And it was like this felt like they love in a different way, but it was like this love was in honoring and deep respect. And it felt like his heart knew what humanity was going through with the negativity, the hardships, the pain, the suffering, even owning that he too had
mm,
done bad things. Because we as humans in humanity, we have the light and the shadow. So how do we heal each other and come back together? And this was like all in a deep meditation where I was crying, and it was like this felt bodily like remembrance. And then I went to Bali, the land of the dragons and the gods and goddesses, and there was like more wisdom that came through, more remembrance of my family and like flying dragons and also being the dragon. And it was like through a medicine journey where it was like it felt so real. And it was like I was like, why am I seeing
Mm.
things in this way? This is not this world. And it was like, I'm flying. Oh, I'm a dragon. But then I wasn't a dragon. And it was like how we connected. I'm like, holy sugar. It was like this whole experience that could have been my imagination. But I was
Mm,
like, I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my cells. And you can't take that away from someone. And people can believe it or they can't. But there are
mm.
so many leaders that are coming forth now that are manifesting, are creating, are making change, are helping people. They're still human, but they're also that multidimensional self that is now coming online to be accepted and embraced. So I love this conversation.
I would love to add to this in a broader sense. So what you just brought up there, Marie, was beautiful. And a lot of the time it was like, and you can believe it if you want. I want to put it out to the world to actually stop with the justifying your oddities or your experiences, because it was an experience for you. And whether or not the dream of the dragon was the intent behind it, there was a message and a deeper understanding that was through that experience shown. And it was only because of your ability to be able to tap into that imagination, into your visual world, that that message was detained, like obtained. And without that message, the pureness to adding into this world that we are both good and bad, that we all have the capability to do harm to another, even if it's unintentional. And like, this is what these messages are. They're not here to go, oh, yes, I was a god once, or oh, yes, I was a dragon. Yeah, great. We're not now. We're human now. And in our humanness, why are we getting these messages? We're getting these messages so that we can make the changes that are necessary right now for humanity to succeed. So whether it's a dragon, a pixie, an elf, or whatever, it really does not matter. The story, the value in the intention is what matters. And it frustrates me when like we have to sit there and go, oh yes, I'm a bit woo woo. Like, that's something to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I love my imagination, I love my passion, I love my desire, and I love with all of my heart. And it's that depth that this passion gets to be expressed through. And for me, it's just in the fantasy land. Some people are logical and they talk through science. I can do that too. It's a different podcast. If we want to go through the mathematics and the teaching, it's another podcast again. We all have different variations and perceptions of our current reality. And these are just little micro perceptions of experiences that we've had, that we know, that we feel. And it's the feeling. That's all the visualization does. It taps us in to say, this is what you're feeling right now. Deep compassion, deep understanding, deep regret, deep remorse, whatever it is, it's it's the wholeness. It's bringing us back into who we are. We're not just the mind. We are the feelings and we are the spirit. And the spirit has this deeper connection and this deeper understanding that pushes us into these realms of, I need to know more. So, yeah, for all those people that aren't there yet and need the scientific language, well, you're not watching the right podcast, for one, but we've held your attention long enough that you're probably just a little bit scared. And this is where the reaching out, sharing your stories, being the voice, being the power is vital, because you shouldn't have to live in fear of who you
Yeah.
are. So that was my rant, because
Yeah.
that just came out. I
Yeah.
was,
Oh, beautiful.
yeah.
And
Amen,
the
sister.
inspiration.
I hope I share.
Yes.
And so it is.
And Carol, love
100%.
healing more. Like Flea, you just
Yes.
said Carol's business, all in that, and this is that piece, love healing more. I'd love for you to just like expand intuitively, Carol, on this thread, about this moreness, embracing the fullness. Like, I know you've had that very 3D world and the very logical, and people that are curious that are now bridging the gaps. What is it that I know you've got these beautiful skills, but what is it that you're doing now to help create love, healing, and more of this expansion?
Yes. So, first of all, I hold space for Gaia in a weekly basis. So, I tap in and connect with Source, God, universe, and connect with Gaia. And we bring healing of what the collective needs. in the moment in time. Um, and it's really super magical healings. Sometimes I do it by myself, and sometimes we do it in community. We have what we call the Team A, where we meet and we just hold space, and we are a beautiful love channel that we bring love to Gaia and where Gaia needs love. And she's here, like I can feel her. Um,
Mm.
so, love, everything that I do, everything that I try to say, because I'm still a 3D human, and everything comes from a place of love. My mantra is always love. So, yes, I hold space for Gaia and for the universe, but I also hold space for others so they can be an empowered empath, so they can
Mm.
start opening up their abilities to heal themselves
Mhm.
with the inner child, as you mentioned, and bringing healing to that inner child, to the shadow self, as you mentioned, the parts that we don't like, that we don't love, that we regret because we have shame, because we did something, right? And also the ego, because sometimes we have really stubborn rebel ego that is running the show sometimes, and we need to like, okay, ego, let's give you a different role and a different job because you should not be running the show. I do understand you are a part of my being, and I do understand that you are my lower self and you're helping me with the physical world. Got it. And I love you. Continue helping me with that, but you're not running the show. um, and also connecting um, women's, men's souls,
Mm.
right? To their true selves. Going back to loving their self, going back and feeling worthy. Why? Because I spent 18 years of my life not feeling enough. And until I
Mhm.
started walking my path, walking my journey, healing, it took me the realization that it did not matter if I worked 360 days, if I work 24
Mm.
hours, if I did my best and get sick, I would never felt enough. So there was something really deep rooted inside of me that it was seeking for help, that it was seeking for healing, that this helped me start with my own healing journey. So my mission is to empower empath. You can have a happier, better life, no headaches, not
Mhm.
feeling exhausted, tired every single night, that you can spend time with your family, with your friends. And we are here to be happy. We are not here to please others. We are not here to make others happy. We start with us. But
Mhm.
also, I started igniting that healing journey, right? Let's start digging that onion and start peeling those layers so you can start finding your true self, because you are not the person that you think you are,
Mhm.
because you have the experience that has shaped you, good and bad experience, right? You have the trauma that
Mhm.
has shaped you. And then we have this collective belief and programming that not longer serve our highest good, that needs to start being peeling back one layer at a time, because healing is not linear. And when you think you heal something, another layer comes in. But it's a beautiful, magical way of living. And then
Mm.
when you come to the moment that your reality, it's not here to get you, right? So like when
Mm.
you can step back and be an observer, okay, what is happening? Why is this happening?
Mm.
What's the lesson? What's the growth? You will understand that you will not come from a place of rage. You will not come from a place of anger. You will be more open and curious to understand what's the lesson? What can be healed and here? What how can you grow from this experience?
Mm.
Oh,
I
so
love it.
beautiful.
And you did the why, and I'm like in my head, I just the little child came out. Yes, why? Because of love.
Because of
Sorry.
love. Always love.
And I've
I
actually
love
got that
that.
written on my computer. Why? For the love of children, for this, for the love. It's all for love.
It's all for love.
Mm.
We
Yeah, I
forgot that
love
we
that.
come from love and we are
Mhm.
love and we are surrounded by love. And we
Mhm.
just need to remember that we come from love, we are love, and we are always, always surrounded by love.
I love that.
Mm.
And it's noticing
Yeah.
like the choices that you make that you shared, Carol. It's like,
Mm.
noticing that our brains also operate either from a place, and our hearts, when we think about our heart brain, you can choose to operate from a place of love or fear. So when we get to notice our choices and notice our decisions and come to those 2 points, it's like, is this out of a place of love of some sort, or is it fear because I'm scared of this next thing?
Mm.
And when we can notice that, oh, I'm actually scared, how do I shift that and come from a place of love? That just shifts how you then relate to people, how you make decisions, how you can step into courage, and
Mm.
it is both easy and hard at the same time, and
Yep.
it's just being gentle on ourselves and that having that self compassion, again, that deep
Mm.
love and honor of self. And it's this sacred selfishness that I've really loved this term because, people, in our busy hustle bustle society go, I'm doing it for them, I'm doing it out of love, I'm doing it for this. That can also be
Mm.
distorted where we then push ourselves to the extreme, right? And I've done that before, where it's like, actually, I'm not honoring myself and taking care of my body or nourishing myself or sleeping, because I'm doing it out of love, But it's then noticing those layers that you say, like, is it for the people? Is it for this? Or is there another? There's so many layers. And like
Mm.
noticing then the patterns of trauma where it's like, we can keep noticing, and people can then be addicted to healing, addicted to the, and it's like, again, layering it and go, well, is it that, or is it something else, the spark within me? So it's having conversations like this that lights me up, because then it allows us to question. Once you peel that layer, you can go deeper and go deeper, and like, it's, our hearts are like the
Mhm.
ocean, right? And we can just
Yeah.
keep diving deeper if we choose, and also just being in it,
Mhm.
that sense of being in the moment. I think a lot of us can forget about, because they just we want to fix it, we want to heal, when we know we're
Mm.
actually fully healed already. It's just the layers of noticing and remembering and just allowing that softness to occur. And sometimes
Mm.
it's reaching out to people like yourself or us, where we can go, hey, you're actually doing a lot right now. Maybe listen to your body,
Mm.
to sit and rest. Maybe go sit with the land. I love that you work with the land and with Gaia, and bringing in that energy, because I feel that there is another layer. There's always more layers of
Mhm.
the work we're doing now with humanity, but also with the earth. We're here to bring in
Yeah.
the new earth frequencies. They're here now. And like, as you were saying earlier, you mentioned 3D, 4D, 5D. I feel like 4D is in the heart, that felt space. So a lot of people in this realm talk about five-dimensional um, up leveling that's occurring, because we are multidimensional. I'd love for you to explain. I know I've kind of veered off a little bit, but that's what I do. Um, with this love that's coming through, that embodiment, working on self, working in community, what is it about this new earth, this 5D frequency? If people are like, well, what is that? And how do I get there? Like you said, it's not linear. People like,
Mhm.
you can jump in between, you can be all of it at once, you can maybe also be very 3D and very human. I'd love for you to share just a little bit more
Mhm.
about that 5D energy and frequency.
Yes. So they call it density. So how dense, it, it is, right? Um, 'Cause it is, right? 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 ' the planet right now was in a 3D moving to a 4D to a 5D dimension, or density. The 3D, it's our normal. It's really not balanced. There's love, there's fear, there is a lot of system structures that not longer serving your highest good,
Mm.
patriarchy, then the feminine and the masculine energy not being in balance. So let me explain a little bit about the feminine and the masculine energy. So we both, even though we are female and male, we both have a female energy and we have a masculine energy. The female energy in you is the creativity, you're resting, you're
Mhm.
flowing. Your masculine in you is the energy of action, it's the energy of protection, it's the
Mhm.
energy of body more masculine energy, right? But our earth in a 3D dimension, it's not balanced. Light and dark is not
Mhm.
balanced, feminine, masculine is not balanced, and it feels really dense. Now, when you're moving into a higher dimension, you're see a little bit more of balance of this energy because Earth is
Mm.
not fully in a 5D dimension. Who is already in 5D, who is already in 4D, it's in a this dancing, and I call it the dancing between the D's, right? Because we still
Mhm.
have 3D things that we have to deal with as a human and having a human
Mhm.
experience. Um, but it's good to mention that we are multidimensional being having a human experience, and the human experience, it will depends on what you came to Earth to do, and it's all about what you want to learn and what you want to grow and what
Mm.
do you want to manifest for this lifetime. So we still have that we're going to have challenge, and I see it more as opportunities that you can use those opportunities to grow and learn. um, Guess what, if you don't learn it, the universe is going to give you another opportunity for you to learn it, and then if you don't
Mhm.
learn it, you're going to have another opportunity that you're going to be learning, and then you're going to feel, well, why I'm in this loop? Well, because you're not learning your lesson. You want to get out of the loop, learn your lessons, right? So, but the 4D and 5D, how do I get there? It's through healing. It is to um, making the space for you to understand you,
Mm.
making the space for you to reflect on you. How can you become an observer of your own life?
Mm.
Why you like your egg scrambles? Why you like to run, right? Because, like, well, that was inflicted by you learning, your parents, your environment, or truly this is how you like your eggs, right? Like, let's bring it in a 3D
Mm.
perspective, right? Because
Yeah.
the when I started this healing journey, I even questioned, do I like scrambled eggs or do I like this, right? Because, or that it was inflicted to me. Why do I do what I do? Why I wake up early? Why I go to bed early? Or why am I doing this the way that I'm doing it? So it's
Mm.
about curiosity. It's about really a lot of reflection in yourself on being an observer of how you act, how you speak, how do you
Mm.
speak to yourself, how's your inner critic. Um, my inner critic was really inner critic. You can call her a bee
Fine.
back then, right? Because we are really harsh to ourselves and we judge
Yeah.
ourselves really in a
Mm.
big critical way. But
Yeah.
why? Why we are such harsh to ourselves? Where did we
Mm.
learn that? Which standards are we meeting? Why do we need
Yeah.
to even meet those standards? So for me, getting there, it's not the getting there. It's more about
Mm,
taking a moment to reflect on who you are, taking a moment to bring that self love to you, to bring all this
mm,
love that is available to you, that it can help you then feel enough, that it can help
mm.
you then feel
No.
worthy, that it can help you then be abundance, that it can
Mm,
help you manifest your dreams in your life. But us as a human, and also even in the spiritual community, we are selling this, you can have everything you want. Yes, you can do it, but it
mm.
needs to start within. And you cannot be
I know.
outside trying to get that, right? Um,
Mm,
because like if you're trying to manifest that new house, but you don't feel that it's worthy of that house, guess what? The house is not gonna come because you need to feel worthy of it. You need to feel that you
mm,
deserve it. And I think as a human, and I honestly do not know how we got here, and I don't want to know why we got here, but we have lost our path, right? And it's
yeah.
like all this programming, all this belief that it's teaching us to not feel enough, to not feel
Mm.
worthy,
Mm,
to not feel deserving of love, deserving of abundance, right? In all shapes and
yeah.
form of abundance.
Mm.
Um, what I have seen a lot, it's more about this chasing of getting 5D. No, 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 no. Your path is your path. However that looks
Mm,
like. It maybe take you 20 years. That's okay. But at
yeah.
least you decided to be in your path. You decided to heal and start looking
Mm.
your true self. Because it's about all finding your true self.
I love that
Oh,
so much. And we had this conversation on the weekend where it's so many people are searching for something outside of what it is we're actually here to do. We are here to have this experience as this human being, as this vessel. And what you were talking about, that awareness of self, it reminded me of a funny story where I was trying to take my morning vitamins and sip the tablets. And I was sitting there and copying my partner. I didn't even realize he picked up a bottle. He picked up a glass, so I picked up a glass. And usually I would drink out of like a bottle or something like that to sip tablets. And I couldn't swallow it. I couldn't understand like what's going on with my body. And it's only because I now have this awareness to challenge the like what did I just do that I stopped and I went, what did I change in my behavior to now not be able to swallow a tablet? And it was simply going from when I drink water from a bottle, it is different to how I drink water from a cup. And because I was copying him, I didn't realize that I'd picked up the wrong thing. So therefore, the tablets weren't sitting in my mouth the right way. The water went down the wrong way. All the tablets ended up, where they're not meant to go and coughing fit and everything. It took me days to work out that that's what I'd done. And it was just a simple thing of drinking water, like literal water. That was this great big awareness of how different we actually are. Because for him it wasn't an issue. The cup straight down the hatch, not a problem. And when I actually asked him about it, it's like, okay, can you try it? Can you do it from a bottle? And it was like, oh no, that feels weird. You don't get enough water in your mouth. And it was there that awareness of how different we were, like right down to the swallowing a tablet, is that beauty of what it is to be uniquely us. Like there is no two things that any person does exactly the same, down to sipping water. And how
mm.
magical is that? It's like, oh, okay, I need to now learn how to swallow a tablet with a glass because sometimes you don't have a bottle, but all good, one at a time.
Oh, I love that. It's so human, and but I love like how deep it went for you, and it's like stuck with you. It's like yeah,
Water.
but it's that beautiful uniqueness that we
Mm,
do things differently, and that observer piece that you said, Carol. How do we observe our choices, our actions, our behaviors, as well as be, just be
mm,
in those moments. And I think that's really, really powerful. So I'm really
mm,
excited, about what's coming up for Seeking Sovereign Souls. And you're going to obviously be diving more into these concepts we've shared. Is there anything super exciting that you are looking forward to with the summit and what you're going to be sharing with the people that come to attend?
I am super, super excited to be a speaker and be speaking globally because I've been more concentrated in North Carolina. I'm here to shine my light, and I would like to the audience to learn and resonate with the information and message that I will be bringing. But at the same time, I also will be flowing and probably channeling the information that wants to come through and birth through me. Because you never know. We may need a different conversation, and then you will see the shift and just allowing for just divine love to come in and divine knowledge and what's needed as a collective from the summit, as a collective from the energy. But most definitely, it's more about who I am and how I can empower people so they can get curious and just follow that breadcrumbs that the universe give us, the little pieces one by one.
What's that card say, please?
That's the universe one again that we
Yay.
had
Wow.
last week.
Beautiful.
It's been popping up daily. I love it.
I love it.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, we're so excited to have you on as well. And so, folks, if you're listening in, tune in for April the 24th to the 27th. Carol will be one of our speakers. And we have an amazing lineup. Already there are 44 speakers. I'm still filtering through just the last round of amazing men and women who are joining us. So I look forward to sharing more of that information. But, when we share this on our platform, share it with all the networks. If you're keen to join us, we'll be able to share some of these links, and you can come in, get curious, get ready to learn, to dive deeper. If you're seeking more, if you're seeking understanding, if you're seeking connection and guidance, and really coming into that sovereign, soulful, safe space where you're going to have leaders around the world that are in this work now that are here to help you. So we're so looking forward to sharing more information soon. So thank you so much for your time, Carol. And how can people find you?
So people can find me in Kiro Soto. It's being tagged in all the posts. So please add me. If not, at Love Healing and More. I am in Facebook. I am in Instagram. I am in TikTok, YouTube, all the platforms. If not, my website, it's www.lovehealingmore.com.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to chatting with you soon.
Yes, it's been an honor to have a conversation with all of you, and thank you. I hope some of the conversation that we had has sparked a curiosity, and you reach out to any of us that we can help you and guide you to your next breadcrumb.
Bye, everybody.